Empty your pockets and get against the wall now. I saw you palm that watch. The accusation was a roar that shattered the quiet of the classic flagship store. Bradley Thorne, the floor manager of Aurelian Timepieces, didn't wait for a denial. He lunged across the velvet-lined counter, his face purple with a mix of adrenaline and prejudice. He grabbed Julian Sterling by the shoulder of his charcoal cashmere suit, the force of the jerk nearly throwing Julian into a display of antique clocks. I haven't touched a thing, Bradley. I'm waiting for the regional manager, Julian said, his voice a low, vibrating hum of controlled discipline. He didn't pull away. He simply stood like a pillar of granite while Bradley's hand remained clenched on his blazer. The only person you're waiting for is the police. Bradley screamed, his voice echoing off the high mahogany ceilings. He didn't just detain Julian. He began to physically manhandle him toward the center of the lobby, right under the massive crystal chandelier. I know your type. You come in here dressed like a gentleman, to distract us while you bleed us dry. I've been watching you on the monitors for 10 minutes. You're a thief and a fraud. Around them, the store's elite clientele, a woman in a vibrant mustard yellow silk dress, a man in a deep emerald blazer, and a couple in matching navy linen froze. The woman in yellow gasped, clutching her pearls, while the man in the emerald blazer pulled out his phone, recording the scene with a smirk. They were witnesses to a public execution of dignity, or so they thought. Thanks for the support. We couldn't do this without you. Subscribe for free to help us keep bringing you more stories. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments. Now back to the story. Bradley reached into Julian's side pocket, searching for the stolen watch, but his hand came back empty. His face twisted with even more rage. Where is it? Did you hand it off to an accomplice? He gripped Julian's collar now, the fabric bunching under his fist. You're not leaving this building until I find it. Julian looked Bradley directly in the eyes, his expression as cold as the steel in the watches around them. You're right about one thing, Bradley. I'm not leaving. But you are. Julian reached into his inner breast pocket, the one Bradley hadn't reached yet, and pulled out a slim, black encrypted tablet. He tapped a single command that made every digital screen in the store flash a brilliant, blinding white. Execute Clause 8.3, Julian whispered. Immediate termination of the management contract. Lock the registers. Now. The high-pitched chirp of every electronic register in the store locking at once was the only sound in the room. Bradley Thorne froze, his hands still bunched in the fabric of Julian's charcoal suit. On the massive digital display behind the counter, the rotating gallery of luxury watches vanished, replaced by a single glowing crest, the seal of Sterling Holdings. What did you do? Bradley stammered, his grip finally loosening as he stepped back, looking at the dead screens. The system is down. You've hacked the registers. The heavy mahogany doors at the back of the store swung open. Dominic Vane, the regional director, sprinted into the lobby, his face a mask of frantic desperation. He didn't look at Bradley. He didn't look at the confused socialites in their mustard and emerald finery. He ran straight to Julian and bowed his head so low it was nearly a genuflection. Mr. Sterling. Please, the system just sent out an emergency liquidation alert. Dominic gasped, his voice trembling. What happened? Why is the brand being shuttered? Julian adjusted his collar, smoothing the cashmere that Bradley had wrinkled. Your floor manager just attempted to search me for a stolen watch, Dominic. He called me a fraud and a thief in front of your primary stakeholders. He decided that the atmosphere of this brand didn't include people who look like me. Dominic turned to Bradley, his eyes filled with a terrifying, cold fury. Bradley's face had drained of all color, turning a sickly, translucent gray. You searched him? Dominic whispered. Bradley, you idiot. This isn't just a customer. This is the man who bought the Aurelian parent company in a private equity move this morning. He literally owns every minute of time we sell. I didn't know. Bradley cried, his voice cracking as he looked at the witnesses in the lobby. He was just standing there. He didn't have a bag, he didn't have a receipt. He doesn't need a receipt for things he already owns, Julian interrupted. He looked around the classic showroom, the light from the crystal chandelier reflecting in his eyes like ice. Clause 8.3 of the acquisition agreement. Zero tolerance for discriminatory conduct by management. The moment you laid hands on me, Bradley, you didn't just fire yourself. You voided the management contract for this entire flagship. At 3:17 p.m., the stock ticker on Julian's tablet hit a finality. The brand is being moved to a digital-only model for the next quarter, Julian announced. This store is closed. Effectively immediately. The witnesses, the woman in the mustard dress and the man in the emerald blazer, began to murmur in shock as security guards, now answering only to Julian's tablet, began to usher them toward the exit. The handshake collapse was total. By the time Julian walked out the front doors, movers were already arriving to crate the inventory. Bradley stood in the center of the darkened store, a nobody, in a cheap polyester uniform, watching the empire he thought he guarded vanish into the back of a truck. Because power doesn't need to roar. It just needs to walk away. If you believe that character is more valuable than a price tag, like this video and share it. Tell us in the comments, what would you have said to Bradley? Subscribe now for more stories of unstoppable dignity.